Good day, today we are going to discuss about the marine biomes. Marine, it is an environment characterized by the presence of salt water. Marine biomes are unique underwater habitats which foster the variety of different plants, animals, and conditions. Marine biome is the largest among the biomes that covers the 3/4 of Earth's surface. The definition of marine biome is simply an oceanic habitat. Marine biome location. It is the largest ecosystem on Earth, but despite the vast expanse of marine life, there are three main types of marine biomes that will be discussed later on throughout the discussion. Marine biome is found in five main oceans: the Pacific Oceans, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic, and Southern Ocean. Marine biome climate experiences an average temperature of 39 degrees Fahrenheit, which is equivalent to 4 degrees Celsius. The sea biome is normally colder at the South Pole. However, as you approach the equator, it becomes hotter on the grounds that the sunbeams strike the water surface straightforwardly. Marine species are continuously affected by any change in climate condition. The seas are regularly upset by sea waves and flows. This wonder causes storms and typhoons, which might not affect numerous marine species. However, species like fish, polar bear, plankton, seals, ocean lions, seabirds, and penguins are regularly affected by the storms and typhoons, and a few animal groups have dominated to adjust to these occasional calamities. They relocate to the safer and or secure spots. Kinds of marine plants. Phytoplankton, the smallest plants thriving in the marine biome. They are single-celled plants and are the cornerstone of the marine food chain. And it is a flora of freely floating. Oceanic phytoplankton is the primary food chain, directly or indirectly, of nearly all sea organisms. Next one is the green algae. It represents the most popular marine plant. Chlorophyll content gives these plants their characteristic bright green color. When these plant species leave calcify, they contribute to the layers on the ocean floor. Statistically, 200,000 algae species exist in marine biomes, despite the fact that just 36,000 have been found. So here are some facts about green algae. It is also referred to as chlorophyta and sometimes seaweeds. Next one is they convert sunlight to starch that is stored as food reserve. Next is green algae's color comes from having chlorophyll. Next is they can be invasive, with some species fouling beaches. Next one is the green algae are food for sea animals and also humans. Next is green algae are used in cancer treatment also. And the last one is they could also help to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And did you know that ocean plants are among the most important plant life on this planet? Here's an interesting fact about the marine biome. Algae in the ocean absorb carbon dioxide and produce most of the world's oxygen. Aside from algae, here's some other marine biome plants: seaweed, kelp, seagrasses, and mangroves.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Alison Arugas from 1A BSR. So my topic is about animals who are living in marine biome and the marine biome abiotic factors and marine biome biotic factors. So the first one is the animals. Marine biome is home to a wide variety of animals. The animals obtain food from plants and small animals within this biome. The same plants provide animals with shelter. So it says that the plants serves as a food and shelter to the animals. Some broad categories of animals that live in the marine biome includes fish, whales, crustaceans, mollusks, sea anemones, fungi, and bacteria. The first example of animals is the tiger shark. So, tiger shark feed on fish, marine mammals, seabirds, crustaceans, and mollusks. They live near coastlines in the tropical and subtropical waters. Tiger sharks have sharp teeth to devour their prey. Additional is that tiger shark are aggressive predators, famous for eating just about anything they find or are able to capture. So the next animals is the gray whale. Their main source of food is small crustacean like amphipods and tube worms. They mainly live in shallow waters of the North Pacific Ocean. Gray whales have long streamlined bodies to effortlessly glide through the water. So in addition, gray whale are inhabitants of the North Pacific and are known for their friendly behavior towards boats and humans. Next is the starfish. Starfish feeds on oysters, plankton, and clams. It's mainly found in Pacific, Atlantic, and Arctic Ocean. It has a calcareous skin for regeneration and protection. Starfish are actually animals called echinoderms, which is a marine invertebrate and are not fish at all. Next one is the seahorse. Seahorse feeds on shrimps. It lives in coral reefs and seagrass beds in tropical waters. Seahorse has mobile eyes that can see without moving. The male carries fertilized eggs, contrary to the belief that the female is supposed to carry the egg. So, one theory about why male seahorses carry the babies is that this gives the species the ability to create more babies quickly. So the next topic is about marine biome abiotic factors. From the word abiotic, it means non-living. Marine biome abiotic factors includes soil type, nutrient availability, temperature, moisture, wind, water currents, and sunlight. Sunlight is one of the most important abiotic factors for marine ecosystem. Next is the marine biome biotic factors. Biotic means alive or living organisms that shape its environment. Marine biome biotic factors includes bacteria, fungi, algae, plants, and animals. In overall, both biotic and abiotic factors work together to create a unique ecosystem.
Good day everyone. I'm here to discuss about the ocean. The oceans are areas of salty water that fills enormous basins on Earth's surface. Even though Earth has one continuous body of salt water, scientists and geographers divided it into five different sections, from biggest to smallest. They are the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, the Antarctic, sometimes called as the Southern, and also the Arctic Oceans. Oceans are deep as well as wide. An average On average, an ocean is a little over 2 miles deep, but about 200 miles southwest of Guam in the Pacific Ocean, the water in the Mariana Trench is almost 7 miles deep, and that's the deepest part of the ocean. Okay, next slide. The ocean life. As I mentioned earlier, the ocean is really huge. For the ocean life, scientists estimated about 1 million species of animals lives in our ocean, but most of them, which are 95%, are invertebrates, animals that don't have backbones, such as jellyfish and shrimp. The most common vertebrate animals on Earth is the bristlemouth, a tiny ocean fish that glows in the dark and has needle-like fangs. Some of the smallest animals on Earth can also be found in the ocean. Sea animals like zooplankton are so small you can
see them only with a microscope. Big fish swim through these waters too, such as the great white sharks, manta rays, and ocean sunfish. Um, in the ocean, you can also locate the largest animal ever. The largest ocean mammal is called the blue whale. It it is as long as two school buses. Dolphins are also mammals in the oceans, and also sea lions. The ocean teems with plant life as well. Most are tiny algae called phytoplankton, and these microscopic plants have a big job. Through photosynthesis, they produce about half of the oxygen that humans and other land-dwelling animals uh, get to breathe. It's really amazing to know that most of our oxygen really comes from the ocean. The bigger algae, like the seaweed and kelps, also grow in the ocean and provide food and shelter for marine animals. Next slide. Climate control. Also, actually, for me, this is a cute fact. Climate control. Ocean helps keep Earth's climate habitable by moving water around the globe. The oceans help to keep places from getting too cold or too hot. Oceans also help keep the planet warm, in the same way that the hot water in a bathtub stays warm longer than a hot chocolate in a small cup. The vast amount of warm water stores heat in the ocean. Then ocean currents carry that heat around the planet. Without oceans, the Earth would be icy rock. Okay, for the next slide, watery habitats such as the coral reefs, the kelps, and the estuaries. Temperature, ocean depth, and distance from the shore determine the types of plants and animals living in an area of the ocean. These regions are called habitats. The coral reefs are one of the type of habitats in the ocean. When tiny animals called polyps die, their skeletons harden so other polyps can live on top of them. Then those polyps dies and more moved in. That's how coral reefs are produced. After thousands of years, this becomes a complex structure called a coral reef that provides food and shelter for many kinds of ocean lives. In fact, coral reefs have been called the rainforest of the ocean. One of the habitats in the ocean is the kelp forest. Kelp forests found along the coastlines of the Pacific and the Antarctic Oceans also provide food and shelter for the marine life. These large brown rubbery plants have hollow, globe-shaped growths on the leaves called pneumatocysts. Correct me if I'm wrong with the pronunciation. Pneumatocysts that help the plants rise to the surface. And also the estuaries. Those are areas where rivers and oceans meet and have a mix of salt water and fresh water. Animals, marine creatures such as oysters, crabs, and many bird-like great herons and egrets lives in estuaries. Next slide are some of the fun facts that I found amusing. Our oceans cover more than 70% of Earth's surface. The majority of life on Earth is aquatic, so most lives on Earth is found in the ocean. Less than 5% of the planet's oceans have been explored, so that means that there's a lot of areas in the oceans that our scientists and other explorers have not been to. The world's longest mountain chain is underwater, and over 70% of our planet's oxygen, as I mentioned earlier, is produced by the ocean. More about the watery habitats will be discussed by my group mates. So, thank you.
And now we're gonna talk about the other type of marine biome, which is the coral reef. Coral reef ecosystems are intricate and diverse collections of species that interact with each other in the physical environment. Coral is a class of colonial animal that is related to hydroids, jellyfish, and sea anemones. When we say intricate, it means very complicated or very detailed, and diverse means different or various. In other words, coral reefs are one of a kind. Now, where can we find the coral reefs? Most reefs are located between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, in the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, the Red Sea, and the Persian Gulf. Corals are also found farther from the equator in places where warm currents flow out of the tropics, such as in Florida and southern Japan. Species found in coral reefs. Hidden beneath the ocean waters, coral reefs teem with life. Fish, corals, lobsters, clams, seahorses, sponges, and sea turtles are only a few of the thousands of creatures that rely on reefs for their survival. Economic value. Coral reefs support jobs, tourism, and fisheries. Healthy coral reefs support commercial and subsistence fisheries as well as jobs and businesses through tourism and recreation. Despite their great economic and recreational value, coral reefs are severely threatened by pollution, disease, and habitat destruction. Once coral reefs are damaged, they are less able to support the many creatures that inhabit them. Other uses of coral reefs. Scientists develop important drugs from coral reef organisms as treatments for cancer, arthritis, and viruses. But corals are threatened by pollution and climate change. Coral reefs protect coastlines from storms and erosion, provide jobs for local communities, and offer opportunities for recreation. Healthy corals are the foundation of our ocean's food chain, from tiny plankton to the largest animals in the sea. And coral reefs are important to our economy too. Did you know that there are 3 types of coral reefs? First one is the fringing reef, the atoll reef, and the barrier reef. The most common type of reef is the fringing reef. This type of reef grows seaward directly from the shore. They form borders along the shoreline and surrounding islands. The atoll reef. When a fringing reef continues to grow upward from a volcanic island that has sunk entirely below sea level, an atoll is formed. Atolls are usually circular or oval in shape with an open lagoon in the center. The last one is the barrier reefs, which are similar to fringing reefs in that they also border a shoreline. However, instead of growing directly out from the shore, they are separated from land by an expanse of water. As you can notice in the picture, some of the reefs are white in color, which is caused by coral bleaching. Warmer water temperatures can result in coral bleaching. When the water is too warm, corals will expel the algae living in their tissues, causing the coral to turn completely white. This is called coral bleaching. Bleaching leaves corals vulnerable to disease, stunts their growth, affects their reproduction, and can impact other species that depend on the coral communities. Another fact about the coral reefs, the largest coral reef is the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. The second largest coral reef can be found off the coast of Belize in Central America. That's all. Thank you.
We will talk about the estuary. An estuary is a partially enclosed coastal water body where fresh water from rivers and streams mixes with salt water from the ocean. Estuaries located along the coast where fresh water such as river or a bay meets the sea. A salt marsh close to the coast as an excellent example of an estuary. A river that flows directly into the ocean is another example. The famously known and the largest estuary in the United States is the Chesapeake Bay Estuaries. Estuaries located along the coast where fresh water such as river or a bay meets the sea. A salt marsh close to the coast as an excellent example of an estuary. A river that flows directly into the ocean is another example. The famously known and the largest estuary in the United States is the Chesapeake Bay Estuaries. The species found in estuaries is, the first one is the plankton. The plankton is a single cell
organism that lives in a water and cannot move itself. Jellyfish, for example, is a plankton. A plankton is typically a very small or microscopic. Plankton is classified into two parts, which is the zooplankton and the phytoplankton. The zooplankton is an animal, while the phytoplankton is an algae plant-like proteus. Plankton is a food source for many estuarine and ocean species, and it is at the bottom of the food chain in the estuary. Next is the insect. Insects are tiny creatures that live in estuaries and provide food for a variety of animals. One of the most well-known estuary insects is the dragonfly. Next, the third one is the fish. Estuary waters are home to over 200 different fish species. Salmon migrate upriver and across estuaries in the Pacific Northwest to breed and spawn. Other bottom fish, such as the starry flounder, breed near river mouths in the estuary. Um, all all kinds of rockfish can be found hidden and under their habitat, which is in the rock. And estuary is also known for their plentiful forage fish such as herring and surf smelt, which are prey upon by larger fish and animals. The fourth one is the echinoderms, crustaceans, and shellfish. Echinoderms is an example of that is sea stars, which use handles of 2 feet to catch and carry prey up to their mouths in the middle of their bodies, are one of the most iconic estuary invertebrates that you can find in the tide pool estuary. Sea urchins also is an type of echinoderms. Sea urchins have spikes and are favorite snack of otters, but they're also voracious predators that can eat algae, kelp, and other estuarine plants. Next is the um, crustaceans. The horse crab is one of the ancient and well-known species on the planet. It forages and eats worms and mollusks in substance and estuary mud. Estuary crabs come in a variety of species including Dungeness, blue, graceful, and kelp. Much shrimp can be found in estuaries in over 80 different species. Next is the shellfish. Shellfish are valuable estuarine species because they serve as a barrier, filtering pollutants and other toxins out of the water. Oysters, the famous example of that is the oysters, mussels, clams, and are all common estuary shellfish. Next is the birds. A number of birds rely on marshes and mangroves as a source of food. They eat fish, herbs, and snails because hunting and foraging in the shallow waters of estuaries is very simple. Next is the mammals. Estuary fish, amphibians, crustaceans, rodents, insects, frogs, turtles, and etc. and other marine invertebrates are all eaten by river otter. Next is the economic value of the estuaries. Estuaries have commercial value to fishing industries. Estuaries maintain water quality, benefiting people and marine life. There are ideal places for boats or ships to come in to land and so are sure for transport. Also, estuaries are tourist attractions. Estuaries are used by fish and shellfish to hatch their young, and their offsprings are held in estuaries until they are ready to move out in the ocean or up rivers. Estuaries also sustain freshwater, marine, and eventually brackish water life types, all of which can live in waters of varying salinities. Industry is often located near estuaries to promote the transportation of goods, for example, fisheries, and also estuaries is a popular tourist destination. Other use of estuaries. Estuaries provide critical habitat for species that are valued commercially, recreationally, and culturally. Estuaries provide stopovers for migratory bird and species. Estuaries provide vital nesting, breeding, and feeding habitats for many species. Estuaries are also known by many titles including harbors, inlets, bays, lagoons, ponds, and swamps. There are the ocean's nurseries. Estuaries are home to a number of fish and shellfish. Estuaries are fertile feeding grounds for fish and birds because they are full of nutrients and home to health species. More than 80% of all fish and shellfish species use estuaries as primary habitat or spawning or nursery ground. Estuaries are often called the nurseries of the sea because many species of fish and wildlife rely on the shelter water of estuaries as protecting spawning place. Estuaries are also important for other recreational activities. Millions of people visit estuaries each year to boat, swim, fish, and watch birds and other wildlife. Estuaries have significant commercial value, supporting industries such as tourism, fisheries, and recreational facilities. Estuaries are also invaluable laboratories for scientists and students studying the complexity of biology, geology, chemistry, physics, history, and social issues. And facts about estuaries. An estuaries can be called a harbor, inlet, bay, or lagoon. As I said earlier, estuaries are often called the nurseries of the seas. Most productive natural system on the earth. Um, Estuaries are called nurseries of the seas because many fish and shellfish and many species rely on the shelter water of estuaries as protected spawning places. The Chesapeake Bay, located along the coast of Maryland and Virginia, is the largest coastal plain estuary in the United States. And the last one is estuary has a brackish water. Why? Because a freshwater river or stream joins the ocean in an estuary. The salty one meets a freshwater river in estuaries, resulting in brackish water. Thank you.
I'm going to discuss the facts about marine biome. We have only explored less than 5% of the ocean. Scientists believe that 75% of volcanic activity is underwater. The marine biome may be the world's oldest biome. The marine biome considered as the largest among other types of biome and also the world's oldest biome since marine biome is where scientists believe that life first originated over 3 billion years ago. That will be all. Thank you.